Well everyone, welcome back. It's time to do a video that I was trying to do for a while, but I just now got the OnePlus Nord, so I figured I might as well do a comparison between this and the iPhone SE 2020. Now, what's really cool about this is that first of all, both these phones are kind of budget counterparts of both offerings. However, two big things to note: the iPhone SE 2 is cheaper by a little bit in the brand new market from Apple. The OnePlus Nord is a more expensive one just by a little bit, but on top of that, there is a cheaper budget OnePlus phone that's apparently coming out at some point, so I guess we'll wait and see when that comes. But if you want to pick up either of these ones for the cheapest prices that I find on Amazon, I'll link them down in the description below so you can get them from there and help support the channel at the same time. Now starting off with the front, the iPhone SE 2020 has a 4.7-inch 750p panel. Now it is IPS and it's not a bad panel at all. I think I've seen a lot of people, including me, say back in the day, oh, it's not that good, whatever. It's really not that bad. It's just covered by a lot of bezel, which I'm not really a fan of, to be completely honest. You have that fingerprint sensor as well as the home button on the front, and yeah, I mean, it's nothing pretty much too crazy. You have True Tone on it, but other than that, it's a pretty basic panel. There's nothing like super crazy going on with it. Like I stated before, it'll get the job done, but it's definitely outdated when it comes down to the design. The panel itself isn't too crazy. It is an IPS, but it's nothing like, the OnePlus Nord obviously looks far better. So in terms of the front, the iPhone SE looks okay, where the OnePlus Nord on the other hand has a 6.44-inch 1080p panel. It's a fluid AMOLED display as well. Now, it's a bigger phone overall than the iPhone SE 2020, so it's not like you're paying a bigger price and not getting anything. You are getting a bigger phone, which is really awesome. Now, the panel itself looks really, really good in my opinion. However, I think the viewing angles are a little bit better on the iPhone SE 2. Now, you do have a dual camera setup on the OnePlus Nord on the front, which is really interesting because the OnePlus 8 didn't have a dual camera setup. And the screen itself looks pretty good in my opinion. Now, the funny thing is that the OnePlus Nord, it's not a funny thing, it's actually a really cool feature. This phone has a 90Hz refresh rate, which is really, really awesome. That is something that not a lot of phones have, and especially in the budget counterpart, this phone has that capability, which is really, really cool. So when it comes down to the front panels, I would definitely say the OnePlus Nord wins by a long shot. Not only does it look better, it actually has that 90Hz refresh rate as well, which is really, really cool. So in terms of the front panels, that pretty much covers it up. On the bottom, lightning port on the iPhone SE, where the OnePlus Nord has a USB Type-C port, which is really cool. And on the back, you can see a glass back on the iPhone SE 2, where we kind of have this polycarbonate back / glass back on the OnePlus Nord. Apparently it is a glass back. I didn't know that. Apparently it is. Now, you do have wireless charging on the iPhone SE 2, but you do not have any wireless charging on the OnePlus Nord, so kind of keep that in mind. That's something you're going to have to kind of figure out if you like it or not. But you do have a quadruple camera setup on the back of the OnePlus Nord, where you have a single camera setup on the iPhone SE. So, like I stated before, I'll get in the cameras in a second, but I do have some interesting beliefs between both of these, if I'm being honest. So, in terms of the camera setups and in terms of the outside, there are a couple more things to hit on. The iPhone SE actually does have IP certification, which is pretty important to say. The OnePlus Nord does not have any IP certification, which is kind of sad. You would probably expect to have some sort of IP certification on a phone like this, but we don't have it, which does kind of suck if I'm going to be honest. The iPhone SE has that capability, which is really cool at the end of the day. So in terms of the outside, that really pretty much covers it up for the most part. Now, hitting on the software, this is one of the more interesting and one of the more confusing aspects of both these phones. So the iPhone SE is starting off with iOS 13. It's going to be lasting for quite a bit of time, at least like 4 or 5 versions of iOS. So you can pick up this phone today and still feel like you have a good performing phone in terms of the software, but also have a long lasting phone in terms of the software too. So that's another very, very important thing to keep in mind. Where the OnePlus Nord obviously is running Android, it's running Oxygen OS, which is a really good version of Android. I think it's a clean version of Android. I think it's one of my favorite versions so far. However, OnePlus is kind of just starting to go away from their standard, software lifecycle, more so of their software type, because it seems like they're trying to skin it up a little bit, which I don't understand why they're doing that. But in terms of the software, the iPhone SE I think is going to be lasting longer. The iPhone SE is going to be lasting longer than the OnePlus Nord when it comes down to the raw software updates. So we're going to be getting more software updates on the iPhone SE than the OnePlus Nord, but the OnePlus Nord is still going to be lasting for quite a bit of time too. OnePlus has been very good with their longevity of their software. They were pushing like 3 versions of software out on their devices, which was really, really cool. So either phone you get today is going to be lasting you for quite a bit of time. but there could be a time in a couple years from now where your OnePlus Nord is not getting updates anymore, where your iPhone SE is getting updates. So a little confusing like I stated before, but I'll definitely tell you when it comes down to the software aspect, the iPhone SE is going to win hands down over the OnePlus Nord for sure. But again, you're going to have to ask yourself, do you like iOS or do you like Android? If you like Android, get the OnePlus Nord. If you like iOS, get the iPhone SE. So in terms of software, that really pretty much covers it up for the most part. Now hitting on the performance, and I did a speed test between these two, so you can kind of look at them while I'm talking. The iPhone SE has a Apple A13 Bionic chip inside of it, Hex-core CPU with 3 gigs of RAM on each model, and there's 3 different models of each phone, where the OnePlus Nord has that Qualcomm Snapdragon 765G chipset, octa-core CPU, and there's several different models of this phone. The base model has 6 gigs of RAM, the top tier model has 8 gigs of RAM, and that top tier model, the maximum value you can get, has 12 gigs of RAM. So in my option I had the 6 gig of RAM option, so it technically has twice the amount of RAM as the iPhone SE2. So kind of keep that in mind. If you get the bottom tier model, it's going to have, a certain amount. If you get the top tier model, it's going to have a certain amount too. Now, so far in my performance that I saw in the speed test that I did, I kind of saw that they were both kind of, beating each other at the same time and sometimes differently. Not at the same time, but, one would open up faster here, another one would open up faster here. And one thing that I saw, and I don't know if this is completely true, but maybe the OnePlus Nord opens, the smaller apps a little bit faster, where the iPhone SE2 opens up, bigger apps a little bit faster. But I saw that to be the contrary when I opened up Real Racing 3, and, the iPhone SE loaded it up, a little bit after the OnePlus Nord. So I don't know which one is the most consistent winner every single time. I don't know if there is one, but what I was able to see was that the iPhone SE, great performing phone, the OnePlus Nord, also a great performing phone as well. And I think with the iPhone SE2, something that's really awesome about it is that, it doesn't require the most amount of RAM to run. It only requires, a couple of gigs to get it running at a really, really fast speed. I mean, the iPhone 11 Pro Max, the most expensive iPhone, only has 4 gigs of RAM, which is only 1 more gig of this phone. So the OnePlus Nord, though, I mean, it definitely is the fast phone, and I don't know if it's technically way faster than the iPhone SE2. I would not feel more comfortable saying that. However, if you did get the top tier model of the OnePlus Nord, that'll probably do you better in the long run, and you might get better RAM management from that specific device. But I still think that, the iPhone SE2 may be the smoother phone, and I don't even know if I can say that the OnePlus Nord is the faster phone, because there are cases where the OnePlus Nord is faster, but there were a lot of cases where the iPhone SE2 was also faster. So I'll let you guys kind of check it out. Like I said, I'm going to drop the speed test on my 3rd channel as well, so you can check it out from there. But I'll be completely honest, I think the OnePlus Nord is a great performing phone, and I think the iPhone SE2 is a great performing phone too. And I don't think one really wins every single time. So in terms of the phones themselves, that pretty much covers it up. Now hitting on the cameras, the iPhone SE2 has a single 12 megapixel camera, where the OnePlus Nord has a 48 megapixel wide, 8 megapixel ultra wide, 5 megapixel depth, and 2 megapixel macro lens. And both can do 4K at 30, but the iPhone SE2 can do 4K at 60, which is really, really cool. And that's a really big downside of the OnePlus Nord, if I'm being honest. But the front cameras are a little bit different on both, which is really funny, and I'll get into it in a second. Now the camera on the iPhone SE2 I think is the better one overall. The single camera setup I think takes better photos than the OnePlus Nord, but you have more functionality from the OnePlus Nord's camera. Because of that ultra wide sensor, you are getting a little bit more of a wider range of capabilities that you have. And I also think that the stock software that the OnePlus Nord comes in terms of cameras actually gives you, more options than what we get on the iPhone SE2. Hopefully a Pro mode or something does come on with these older iPhones or newer iPhones. The iPhone SE is a new iPhone. But the OnePlus Nord I think is a great camera because of the camera lenses. If it was just that single wide camera lens, I don't think it would be that great. But we have more capability on the OnePlus Nord, but I really do think that the photos and videos do look better on the iPhone SE2 at the end of the day. On the front, 7 megapixel camera on the SE2, and a dual camera setup on the OnePlus Nord, a 32 megapixel wide and an 8 megapixel ultra wide. And we can do 4K at 60 on that front camera on the OnePlus Nord, but we can't do 4K at 60 on that back camera on the OnePlus Nord, which doesn't make any sense. So I'll probably give the edge to the OnePlus Nord for having the better front camera, but the iPhone SE2 for having the better back camera. Now ending it off with the battery life, the iPhone SE2 has a 1821 mAh battery, the OnePlus Nord has a 4115 mAh battery, and in my opinion, the OnePlus Nord wins by a long shot. That phone has really, really great battery life. However, the wireless charging on the iPhone SE2 could be a huge reason why some people might prefer to pick up the iPhone SE2, but I still think I would take the better battery life over just the fact of it having wireless charging, in my opinion. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad thing. I mean, I would definitely recommend recommend, if you're in the market, getting the better battery life is probably the better way to go. But like I said, it doesn't really mean, you'd sacrifice wireless charging just to get the battery life, but it's totally up to you. But in my opinion, in terms of raw battery life, the OnePlus Nord is definitely the way to go. So to kind of finish up this comparison, if I'm being honest, I do think the iPhone SE 2 has a lot going for it at a cheaper price tag, but I think if I had to pick one up, I would probably pick up the OnePlus Nord. I really do think this is a great phone. I think it brings a lot of capability, and for that cheap price tag it's a really good phone. You can't really go wrong with that phone either. Now, if you have a little bit more money to spend, I would recommend picking up the OnePlus 8 or maybe an iPhone 11. Those two are kind of in the same price range if I'm being honest, but the OnePlus Nord and iPhone SE 2 are great phones as well. They're the cheapest phones that these phone manufacturers make, but I would still recommend either getting an iPhone 11 or OnePlus 8 at the end of the day. So that's really pretty much it. If you guys have any other questions or anything, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that means so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count, so it means so much if you guys can hit that. Also check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my second channel. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.